Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're making the super simple Yule Log. Literally, this is foolproof. You'll love this recipe. For this recipe, you'll need 90 grams of brown sugar, 15 grams of cocoa powder, 50 grams of self-raising flour, 4 eggs which we're going to separate. And for the first part, we'll need a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla and a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla for the frosting. We'll need 150 grams of chocolate, which will melt, 200 grams of salted butter, and 225 grams of icing sugar. To begin, we're going to need one nice big bowl in which we're going to put the egg whites so that we can whisk them. And as you'll see later on in the video, you will need a bowl bigger than this for the other part of the mixture, but don't make my same mistake. In these two bowls, we're going to separate, as I said, the egg whites into the big bowl and the yolks into the smaller bowl. And we're going to whisk up the egg yolks so that we can leave them to sit. Once they're whisked, they're going to look something like this. And we're going to leave that while we mix in the egg yolks. I used a whisk, but again, as you'll see later on, I think maybe a spatula will do for this part. So to the egg yolks, we're going to add the 90 grams of brown sugar. Mix that in nicely. Add the 50 grams of self-raising flour and the 15 grams of cocoa powder. We'll also add in at this point the 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla and mix that all together. We then want to put this into the egg whites that we have left before and gently fold it into the mixture until it's all mixed together. So don't leave any lumps of egg whites anywhere, but also try your best not to beat the air out of the egg whites. My baking tray was a little bit too big for this, so all I've done is I've actually just spread it over the area that I want it to be in. And it does actually keep its shape, so you don't need to worry too much about it spreading and becoming just this huge chocolatey mess. Depending on your oven, you want to bake this at about 180 degrees Celsius for approximately 15-20 minutes. The moment you take it out of the oven, it's going to be too hot to work with. So let it cool just a tiny little bit until it's cool enough to work with, but not cold, because you still want it to be fairly warm when we roll it up in the parchment paper that we baked it on, so that it holds its shape later on. And we're going to tightly roll that, bearing in mind, as you can see, it's still quite hot for me. This is where nails come in handy. While the cake is cooling, this is where we'll make the frosting. So we're going to take the 150 grams of chocolate that's been melted already and add it to the 200 grams of salted butter. The reason I use salted butter instead of unsalted butter is because recipes always call for unsalted butter and a pinch of salt. That makes no sense. So then we're going to add 225 grams of icing sugar and we're going to sift it into the mixture. Sifting is very important. Once we've mixed it together, it'll look something like this. Then we're going to very gently unravel the cake. You might find that some of this has stuck a little bit because there's very little fat in that cake. It shouldn't stick so much that you can't unravel it, but just be gentle. Once we've done that, we're just going to spread or paint the frosting all over the middle and then very carefully and tightly roll that back up. You can use the parchment paper to help you, but really it doesn't actually take that much work. This is for the fun part, the decorating. So we're going to add a massive, great big dollop of frosting to the cake. It doesn't have to be perfect because at the end of the day, it's meant to be a log. I actually even used a fork and dragged it back and forth over the log to create some texture. I also used these cake pearls, a little dusting of icing sugar, and I think I also had some crystals lying around which I also used just to decorate and just to add to the effect. I wanted a kind of wintry theme. There you have it. One super easy recipe for a Yule log. I do think that anybody could do this. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. You can also follow me on Snapchat, Instagram and Twitter at Kat_Constantine. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, guys. Love you all.